All right. I am here with Channa Palmer for the M Made Me profiling. Channa, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. It's evening's just starting in Seattle. The sun has not fully set yet, so any day we got a little sunshine, it's good.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know how the Pacific Northwest is, obviously, but sometimes the sun decides to never go down in the Pacific Northwest. So anytime you got some good sunlight, that is good. Well, we want to thank you for taking some time out to talk to us here on the M Made Me and kind of get your story and how the city of Memphis plays into that story and just let our listeners and viewers learn more about you, the person. So, who is Channa Palmer, the person?
Ooh, starting out with like big existential questions.
Yeah, interview questions.
Yep, who am I? Um, I'm a cool person. Like I am. Okay. So I'll start with I'm a Memphian. I'm a Tennessee Vol. I'm a lover of SEC football. I'm a lover of all things food and beer and food tourism. I live in Seattle, where I've been living for a little over 4 years because I work for Amazon. I work in tech, and so came out here to when I got the job and have been here since. So I don't know, a lot of different things, but a Memphian at my heart.
Yeah, so I mean that's the big story. That's the thing that ties everybody together that we're talking to is the through line is Memphis. So let's start with the China Memphis story. The question that everybody asks. I mean, I know the answer, but what high school did you go to?
I went to the White Station High School. Come on, Spartans.
The White Station High School. So we know you went to the White Station High School. What was the other school journey for you?
All right, so I went to White Station Middle School as well, but the Peabody Elementary, shout out Peabody, Cooper Young neighborhood. That's where I went to elementary school, and I cannot say enough how formative it was. And I'm still thinking about things now that happened at Peabody where I'm like, a lot of folks didn't get that. A lot of people didn't get that. It was such a great experience to be. I mean, a lot of kids in Memphis have this experience where you go to a really bright, enriching school that's filled with other Black people. But I was filled with other Black people and other Black teachers, a lot of Black women as teachers. I think I had 3 white teachers between K through 12, and one of them was a music teacher. So like just a dope experience. So I went from Peabody Elementary to from K through 6, White Station Middle, White Station High School.
All right, so everybody remembers their elementary school. It always trips me out when people talk about. I'm saying this because you mentioned Black women teachers. When people ask about like how many Black male teachers did you have in your life, and especially in elementary school, and I started thinking about my own journey. I'm like, I don't remember that many male teachers in the school in Graceland Elementary at all. Like all of my teachers were Black women in elementary school.
I can't think of any at Peabody either. Not that I directly had. I'm
Yeah.
like, there had to be some there, but overwhelmingly the teachers were Black women with
I,
sprinkles of, I think, like a couple white women and literally 2 white men that I can remember.
yeah, I don't think there was any white men at Grayson Elementary, but obviously, like I grew up in Whitehaven. In Whitehaven, was predominantly Black.
Yeah.
You grew up in what we like to call the Hickory Hill area
Hickory
of
Hill, Hickory Hood. Depending on when you live there, you might call it something different.
right, exactly. So let's talk about when you lived there. You started living there when the tides were turning, the tides were changing.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, like Hickory Hill was a predominantly white neighborhood. I had the Black neighbor next door, and that was it. So it was just the two of us. So all my neighbors were white. All my friends in the neighborhood were white kids. But my mom wanted me to go to Peabody for lots of reasons. We had a church member that was the principal there, which is also very Memphis. There's always a hookup.
Always.
Always a hookup. So a church member was the principal there. It was closer to my mom's job because she worked closer to downtown and Peabody's in Midtown. So I grew up in Hickory Hill, but then I went to school in Midtown, and I can't remember when, but in the mid 90s, when Hickory Hill got annexed into the city of Memphis and no longer was just a part of Shelby County, the neighborhood changed like that. And it went from being a predominantly white neighborhood with sprinkles of Black families, depending on where you were, to a predominantly Black neighborhood, which it is now. And the white community kind of moved further out into the burbs, into Germantown, Collierville, Bartlett, whatever. And it is now affectionately known as Hickory Hood.
One of my fondest memories of Memphis, one of my fondest Memphis memories is just driving down Winchester, leaving the Haven, driving down Winchester, and going to the Hickory Ridge Mall. And the Hickory Ridge Mall used to have they had a carousel in there too, right?
Yes. So my sister can tell you a whole bunch of stories about me begging her to take me to the carousel when she was like trying to be cute and a teenager at the mall, and she had to take her like 6-year-old little sister. That mall was awesome. It had everything. It had like the carousel. It had all the good stores. It had a little movie theater inside. You remember those like little 4-screen movie theaters? Yeah. It had Chick-fil-A before I knew Chick-fil-A was cool. Like, I knew the neighborhood had turned when that Chick-fil-A was gone. I was like, the neighborhood is different now. There's no Chick-fil-A in the mall. And then that tornado came through Memphis. I forget when. And it completely destroyed the mall. And that was like the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, that tornado was either 07 or 08. We were in college. We were in college when it happened. I remember every time I would go to Hickory Ridge, my mama would go to the Kirklands in there.
Oh my God.
The little home store.
Oh my God.
And she would just spend, so me and my brother would just walk around the mall. I would go to Arby's, give me some curly fries, because there wasn't no standalone Arby's yet. Not where I was, not in Whitehaven at least. Give me some curly fries and barbecue sauce and chicken tenders. Because that's what I ate then. That's what I eat now. Right. So that's the Hickory Hill part of your life. How would you say, outside of the demographics, how would you say you enjoyed growing up in Hickory Hill?
Oh, I loved it. Like, as a kid, everything I wanted was right there. I can go to the mall. I can go. East End Skating Rink was right up the street. I had a fantastic 8th birthday party at East End. Me and my rollerblades and the best of Quad City DJs, like from the DJ booth and a pizza party. Like, what else can you ask for? And then I think I kept going until I was in my teens. The biggest movie theater in Memphis at the time was in Hickory Hill, the Majestic. The Malcolm Majestic was like the place to be, I feel like, in middle school. And so I loved it. Besides going to White Station for like school, I did everything, or hanging out with my friends. I did everything in Hickory Hill.
Yeah. Another fond memory is the Rafferty. There was the Rafferty's over there.
Oh, that Rafferty. Yes, that Rafferty's is up the street. Get your buffalo chicken tenders.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those sweet glazed croissants. Come on.
Oh yeah. Come on now. I can't.
Charlie's was like across the street. So all your bread options.
Every bread option that you need right there in a block radius
was available.
So you mentioned the White Station, like that's where we met in high school. And I'm asking these questions because, like you said, you live in Seattle now and you haven't lived in Memphis for a long time. So it's trying to figure out like the things that Memphis taught you. So like, what would you say are some of the lessons you learned, some things that stick with you that you can attribute to being from Memphis?
Memphis taught me how to be around every type of person. And White Station was a big part of that. Growing up in an all-white neighborhood, going to a Black elementary school was another part of that. But what I love about Memphis is it doesn't really matter where you are in the city. You can go from an affluent neighborhood to like a middle-class neighborhood to like a poor neighborhood and not even a 10-minute stretch. And so I just felt like wherever I went, I just had to know how to be around other people, like people that weren't necessarily like me. But also, I never felt isolated because there was Black people everywhere. And so when I got to college, which was University of Tennessee, it's like 30,000 people, I didn't really feel like college was a big leap, even though it was in East Tennessee, which is very different from Memphis. It was a majority white college. Like, I think the diversity population at the time I was there was like 10%. There were so many Memphians. So like there were so many people I was connected with already because Memphis is like, it's basically a big town. So you know everybody. If you do the same few things in high school, you get this network. And then just with talking to people, I think even how I got to Amazon, one, because I was good at what I did, but also because I happened to know somebody who had left their job in Seattle. I had met them through work. We had worked together for a while. And he was like, oh, I just started Amazon. I joined this team. You think you might be interested? And I was like, of course. And like, I don't know anyone in Memphis that doesn't have a hookup story or something, like a job, a concert, shoes, like it doesn't matter. There's always a hookup story. And in my case, my hookup story was not necessarily with another Memphian, but just to get a job.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like it just grounds me in a certain way. Like it just is a character building place to be from. I can shoot the shit with anybody and I'm not really afraid to do it.
That's one thing that we gonna get. That's one thing that we are able to do. I love that answer. That if you know, like, if you do, I don't want to say like do certain things, but like if you're in certain areas a lot and you like go, you're in certain clubs, you know, certain groups, it teaches you how to be around a lot of people. And it's one thing that I think a lot of parents here are intentional of doing and making sure that their children are as well rounded as they can be in terms of who they hang out with and the type of world that they see. You said you went to the University of Tennessee at Knoxville or Memphis East, University of Memphis East. So what did you ever consider University of Memphis?
I didn't actually. I didn't because I was like, I'm leaving the city. Like
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to go to college outside of Memphis because I wanted the experience. I just wanted that experience of being somewhere else. But financially, it made sense for me to stay in state. So it was like, well, if that's the case, I might as well go to the flagship. And I applied and I was able to get scholarships. So it just made sense.
You mentioned the familiar feeling of being in Knoxville with a bunch of Memphians. Like, obviously, I went to school across the country, so I didn't have that. What was it like to be able to be on a college campus, not in Memphis, but around a bunch of other folk from Memphis?
That was the first time I realized how different Memphis was from the rest of the state. Things that I didn't even think about because if you're from Memphis, Memphis is Tennessee. Like we're not really recognizing other cities. Like Tennessee is Memphis. It's just one and the same for us. So I got to UT and I was like, oh, there's this Memphis accent that I didn't even realize was a thing, but I was told I didn't have it. Or we would just say different, we had our own way of saying different things. We had our own way of dressing. Like polo boots were huge in Memphis. Everybody was on campus with polo boots and a chirp. I didn't have a chirp. I had a very sad flip phone, but the cool, people had a chirp. Like the look of Memphis was very present and it just gave me people that I knew. So I didn't have to worry about going to college and not knowing anybody. I had a whole bunch of Memphians I knew, and Black Memphians and white Memphians because of White Station. And the Black Memphians I knew were from all different high schools around the city. Craigmont, Central, Whitehaven. They were from Ridgeway, everywhere. So it was easy to feel like you had a little bit of home with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was able to build my network with other people, but never feel like I didn't have someone from home that understood me when I wanted it.
Yeah, that's the one thing I think I hate I missed out on. Like, going, even when we would be in school and we would all talk, or we would come home for the holiday breaks, or, the 2 weeks I would come home in the summer. You could see how everybody's kind of like friendship deepened when they were in school and, just being around, having that connection with other people. So I missed out on that. But here's another overarching question that I know people love to answer. Like, what was one of the things you learned about yourself while you were in college? Like some things that you like, I didn't know I could do that. Or, something that that really surprised you that you could do.
Ooh, that's a hard one, Jamal. Like, I don't know what I learned about myself. I mean, it's college. So in a lot of ways, I learned just so many different things.
Yeah. Give me something. Give me one thing.
You know what? I think what it was is when I got to college, how I felt in Memphis continued. So it wasn't that I didn't know this about myself, like I hadn't done it before, but it was like I knew how to kick it with a bunch of people in Memphis. So when I got to college, while I was really thankful to have Memphis people there, a lot of my core friends were not from Memphis. The people that I hung out with most of the time that I connected with, they weren't from Memphis, and I could relate to them. And I'm talking about people that were from Nashville, which you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then people from small town Tennessee that is like, they didn't grow up anything like me. I was always into stuff in college. And I think that's a continuation of like Memphis too, just like trying to figure out how you can meet people and network with people to get what you need. Like that was, I didn't have to do that in Memphis in the same way, because it was kind of like, you know, there's different groups you're part of, but you just do it because you do it. But in college, I needed it to get a job. I needed it to get certain things done. It was like kind of a part of the hustle. And that was something that came, I think, out of being from Memphis too. But I would say actually a lot more of my growth that I like recognized came maybe the 2 or 3 years after college and not necessarily in it.
Okay, well, yeah, let's go with that. So you graduate college and you're starting on this career path. That's ultimately led you to Seattle and working for Amazon. So how did that go? Walk me through that?
Yeah, so I graduated from college, and like, to paint a picture, it's 2009 and the banking economy has just collapsed and nobody really had a job. And I was thankful because I had connected with a person on campus who ended up connecting me to internships, and then ultimately the job I got, which I could start. I started like 2 weeks after I graduated from college. So again, like, I found people instead of like hookup mentality. And I think living in Knoxville after college, especially once people I went to college with had left, like, you just kind of have to sit with yourself and figure out what you like to do and what's interesting to you that doesn't have anything to do with like, oh, because I did this stuff for the last 4 years with my friends, I can do it now.
Yeah.
And I was in a city that's not necessarily fun from like an urban perspective. Like, I like Knoxville, but it's not like Atlanta. It's not the Black Mecca. It's not where you're going to, you know, do whatever after college. So I had to figure out what I liked about myself and what I wanted to do. And that's how I started to get into like, and I was traveling a lot for work. So that's how I started to get into food, eventually like craft beer, and just like really trying to find really interesting places in the city I was in. Because I was like, I can't just be here and hating it and not wanting to do stuff. And this is where I learned how to just really spend time with myself. Like, if you know me, you know, I will go to any restaurant, bar, movie, trips. I will do those things alone. And it was because I had the opportunity to kind of sit in a city where people weren't flocking to come visit me, to find what made it fun and find what made it interesting.
Yeah. You were one of the initial people to introduce me to the wonderful world of craft beers. And you have always been one like, I'm at this restaurant by myself, brother. I'm at this bar by myself. I get it. This is my bar. they know me up here. I might have came by myself, but they know me now. And so while you're in Knoxville and you're learning about yourself and you're working there, so you got the job at the plant, right? Right?
Yeah. Worked at Oak Ridge National Laboratory, Department of Energy Research Laboratory. People do call it the plant.
Okay.
Yeah, you're not off there. And it's a mix of, it's a research laboratory, so there's a lot of like scientists and engineers with PhDs, but then there's a lot of people that are like pipe fitters and glass blowers and electricians. So you had kind of everything in between. And I was in HR and recruiting there.
Okay, so you're there, and then the opportunity, the Memphis hookup happens, or the hookup culture happens, and you find your way to Seattle, and you're working for Amazon. So what are you doing for Amazon?
Yeah, so also in recruiting, specifically in student programs, so student hiring. So focusing on getting college graduates into internships, full-time jobs, that gig.
What's it like living in Seattle? Hey, this is a two-part question. What's it like living in Seattle as a Black person? And what's it like living in Seattle as a Black woman?
It's interesting. So like, I left Knoxville and I was like, bet, like, I was in East Tennessee. I was practically in Appalachia for almost 7.5 years. So I was like, I'm going to move to Seattle, and it's a big city, and I'm going to see Black folk all the time, and it's just going to be great. And nope. Seattle, the Black demographic here is really small. I never moved to a city that didn't still have Black people in their historic Black neighborhood. Like, that's unheard of in Memphis. First off, the whole city is a Black neighborhood in Memphis. But to have like your historic Black neighborhood basically be depleted because of gentrification, like, that was new to me. I'm like, y'all got like a few of the old Black churches and a few pockets, and it's gone. So being like moving here, and you get a lot of great stuff, like you get a really urban environment. I walk everywhere. My neighborhood's super cute. It's also Scandinavian, which is fine, but it's also like a historic Scandinavian neighborhood. So there's Norwegian flags everywhere because people are like third, fourth generation Norwegian and Swedish. That type of stuff I didn't expect. There's a large Asian American community here, which is something that you don't get in Memphis and you don't get in Tennessee. So the biggest minority group would actually be those from various Asian countries or Asian nationalities. But it was crazy moving here thinking like, oh, I'm going to move to a big city. I'm thinking it's going to be like Chicago or something like that. And it's like, no, I'm in the middle of really granola, white people that love to hike and do snow activities, not that many Black people, and I have made a way. But Knoxville in that way prepared me for it, because I was like, oh, this is not what I thought.
Yeah, like, I mean, that's an interesting way to look at it. Like, you go from living in Memphis where, if you want to, you can see nothing but Black people.
Literally nothing but if you want to, yeah.
Whenever you want to, you can go somewhere and see a bunch of Black people. To living in Knoxville, where while you're on campus, you can find that group. You know, you can always find the Black people on campus because maybe, I don't know how they did it there, but at our city, at Arizona, we would all the Black people sit in one part of the cafeteria. So no matter what time you came into the cafeteria, you knew what people were. But then you get into the city, like getting the city of Tucson, it wasn't that you weren't gonna find too many, which I'm sure that's how it's Knoxville. And then you go there to Seattle, and I've been to Seattle a few times. We would travel up there to hoop, and it's kind of like that. Like, we would like stay downtown and stuff, but you would still be able to think like, okay, where are the Black people? I need to see somebody Black that's not working. What I'm saying? I need somebody just come in.
Right. And especially when you come out here for work and you hear all these people are moving here for jobs and blah, 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 you're like, where the Black folk at? Where are they moving from? And literally when I got here, it was like a whisper network. It was like, have you joined this organization on Slack? That's how we connecting with each other and finding out about parties. And I'm like, why is it underground? Like, why we got an underground railroad to Black people?
People need to know that this exists.
Like, you got to get a password. So someone had to invite me to the Slack. I'm like, for what? What's the gate? Let everybody in. What we doing? We don't see Black people. So just like open it up. But it was crazy because I got here and I was like, oh, unless I'm super intentional about it, yeah, I can just be in my cute little neighborhood going to coffee shops and breweries, and I won't see a Black person unless I bump into them at work. So that was just different. Like, I didn't expect it.
Here's the question. How often do you tell people I'm from Memphis?
It's like on a regular. It's on a regular. I wish, like, the way my office used to be set up, you could see like my Memphis Grizzlies flag on the bookshelf behind me. My entire team knows I'm from Tennessee. That started with me like bringing in a bunch of orange stuff just to talk about the Vols and like just kind of setting up my desk when we were in the offices. And then that quickly became, oh, I love Tennessee. I can't wait to go to Nashville. And I'd be like, but I'm from Memphis. And so
I can't wait to go to Nashville either.
I'm like, that's great. I'm from Memphis. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, well, would you consider moving to Nashville? No, but I'm interested in Memphis. So I mean, I had someone tell me, they're like, you think Memphis would be the biggest city on the planet the way you talk about it? I was like, it is to me.
What you talking about? You would think Memphis is the capital of Tennessee because it is.
I'm like, I just think it's awesome. Like, that's just what it is. And so what's been interesting here is I don't meet a lot of people from Memphis. And again, when you do meet people, it's like the whisper network. And of course, we got to ask, what high school did you go to? You got to do all the standards.
Yeah.
But it's Seattle is so far that it's not like if I were still in the South, or even I feel like at LA or something like that, where you would have like you just kind of bump into people. Seattle's far enough removed that it's kind of like when you meet a Memphian, you want to hold on to them. And two of the people that made sure that I got set up when I got here are two people we went to high school with, and so I feel like that's how Memphis works. We take care of each other.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I when I was living in LA, I met somebody that went to University of Tennessee in Knoxville, and I was just happy to meet another person from Tennessee. So
Yeah,
I was like, you know what, we're friends now. I don't know what you're doing. I just met you 5 minutes ago, but you're one of my best friends because there's a shared something there. You're from I don't care what part of Tennessee you're from. There's a shared something.
it's
Um,
connection. The amount of conversations I've had with people about I just really miss catfish. And they're like, oh, okay, I get that. Like people here from Memphis that I know when they were at home, they weren't just going out and getting catfish baskets like that. But they understand we're away from home. We can't get good barbecue anywhere. So that's just a wash. So we got to find, it's terrible out here. So we got to find something else.
That's why I tell people, man, I like, look, if you're on the West Coast, if a lot of people from Memphis that are on the West Coast who have never even thought about owning their own business or doing that, like, man, look, get into the food industry, open you up a little hot wing shack and sell Memphis hot wings. Find somebody that you can give the recipes to on how to do some real Memphis barbecue because you would take over there. Like
It's
they ain't got no honey gold in Seattle.
We
I
don't
know
even
that.
have to do a honey gold. I would like a whole wing, not a piece of a wing, not a whole wing. If you get a whole wing here, it's a $15 situation for like, and this for what? For why? And I've definitely driven down to past Portland to Salem, Oregon, which is from Seattle, like 4 hours, because there is a Memphis barbecue restaurant there. That's the best I can. That was the best I can get.
And she said, I got to take a day. I have to take
Right.
a day.
That was like, Corey was like, yeah, I found a barbecue spot in Oregon. You might want to hop to. And I was like, got it.
So officially, how long have you been away from Memphis? Don't count college because college is college. But
I mean, I haven't lived in Memphis since I left for college.
so 2005.
2005, yeah. So I graduated from college in 2009. So even with that taken out, over 10 years outside of Memphis.
Thoughts of coming back?
I think about it all the time. And I haven't figured out if I feel like Memphis is where I will end up. I don't know if it's my next stop. Every time I come home, hang out with you, hang out with other friends, and I'm like, it feels good. But there's so many things to consider when you're thinking about living in a city. And there's, as much as I love Memphis, some things that it still doesn't have that I'm enjoying right now. So it's like, it's always on the radar for me, but it hasn't been something I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do that in the next 2 to 3 years. I'll be back in Memphis.
You mentioned it. I mean, I moved back here in 2013, and in the 7 years since I've been back, the city has changed so much. So when you come back into town, what are your thoughts on the city as it looks as a whole? Like, what are your thoughts on the city when you come visit?
There's just so much to do. I mean, when you leave and your experience in Memphis is high school, that means you weren't doing a ton because adult things are cut off from you. Mm-hmm. So it's like what you're interested in and what you're doing is kind of limited to just being wherever your friends are. And so since I've been coming back to Memphis, both when I was living in Knoxville, I could see the change. It was slower. And now since I've been coming back from Seattle, like just the amount of growth and how the city looks and how like the city's really doubled down on this Memphisness. Now Memphis is branding itself as like a place that is like a unique culture where you want to be. And it's like, I think it's like a continuation of the grit and grind, like Grizzlies to like the city is gritty. But the beer scene in Memphis is phenomenal now. Like I can go to get any type of craft beer I want from really local spots. The food scene in Memphis has always been good. There's always been like great divey places to go to, but I think the range of offerings has improved, like has changed. Like I still love the same things I loved as a kid. Like I went to the Civil Rights Museum like 3 years ago when I was home over break, and I was just as dazzled by it as I was as a kid, and they had redone it. and it's even better. And like, there's so many things to do, and there's so many pockets of Memphis that I'm discovering. But I like that every place I try is still very Memphis. Like, it's still very, everything is not about polish at home.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go, you automatically feel like you're at home in the places you're in.
That's Memphis for you. We have some polish, but a little bit
it's there, but that's not who we are as a city. Like, that's not what we're gonna make all of our things about.
Yeah, I mean, it's I obviously, you know, sports is my background, and you really, the phrase grit and grind couldn't describe the city that much better, and the fact that it came from, you know, the Grizzlies or whatever, and that, like, the embodiment of that era of that Memphis Grizzlies basketball, which has just spread throughout the whole city. And that's how you can explain almost any era of Memphis, the city, is
right.
Folks been grinding, man, gritting and grinding, and that's what it is.
It's like the phrase we didn't know we needed.
Exactly. That's you said it the better way than I could. I was trying to find it as I was talking and I couldn't do it. So on the survey, you have a favorite Memphis memory that's connected to a national leader, an international leader. So tell me that story.
I forgot that I put that, Jamal.
If you got another one, tell it. Don't matter. What's your favorite Memphis memory?
I'll go with that one because I can't think of anything else. But when I was at good old Peabody, and I think I was in maybe the 4th or 5th grade. So the Civil Rights Museum has a Freedom's Honor Awards that they've been doing since like the early 90s. And they've honored Nelson Mandela, they've honored Bill Clinton, they've honored all these different people. They do it every year. Well, whatever grade I was in, they honored Mikhail Gorbachev. And if you don't know who that is, Mikhail Gorbachev was the leader of the then Soviet Union, who was credited with bringing down the Berlin Wall, or helped bring down the Berlin Wall. And so because the former principal by that time at Peabody was a church member and a friend, she was like, oh, well, I'm responsible for getting some kids to talk about the civil rights movement and the importance of social justice as a lead in to this honoree being going through his award. So I got to do the video. And it's just like really funny to me because I'm like, here I am, whatever, however I was, 10. I didn't know who Mikhail Gorbachev was. I'd never heard that name before. And I get to go to the Orpheum and sit through this really long, very intense, like very private honors ceremony for this global leader, because I just so happened to have gone to the elementary school where the principal left and worked for the school, the city of Memphis, and was responsible for orchestrating this video. And I'm sure I was cute and articulate enough as a 10-year-old that I could do it, or maybe not, and I did it anyway. But it just like, that's Memphis. Like, you just kind of get put on in different spots by happenstance sometimes, because you know people sometimes. And it's not even seeking to know folks. It's just that you do. And interesting things can happen. So now someone can go find that video somewhere.
It's on YouTube, I bet. I bet it's on YouTube.
I bet. Like, it's somewhere.
Type in Channa Palmer and then Gorbachev. Right. Yeah, put your name first.
See what comes up. What comes up.
So let's get into some more of your some more favorites here. I guess I would ask, Tigers or Vols, but I think I know where you're going to go with that.
I support the Tigers though. Like, this whole new age Tigers hate ball stuff, that wasn't my UT experience. So I support the Tigers when they are not playing the Vols.
Yeah. Okay. So who? Tigers or Grizzlies?
Ooh. I'm gonna go with the Grizzlies on that one.
Go with the Grizzlies. Like I said, Green Grizzlies. They actually they got a game tonight. What is your favorite Memphis song? A song from a Memphis artist, a song about Memphis. Your favorite Memphis song?
Favorite Memphis song. This is not a favorite, but the first thing that came up was "That's What's Up" by Yo Gotti. Like that's the
Uh-huh.
first thing that popped in my head. That like I want to say something really great, like an Al Green song or something classic from Isaac Hayes. Like those are phenomenal. But literally, the first thing that came up for me was "That's What's Up" by Yo Gotti. Probably because I listened to Back to Basics on a pretty consistent basis.
I can also imagine, and like this is another thing that I missed out on, but I can also imagine that being in college at that time when that album came out and being at a party, because it was like that when you would come home, like you go to a club, you go to any one of the clubs that was open then, and that song comes on, like it's just an entirely different energy throughout the party. And so I can imagine like all the Memphis people getting hype, and then you got other people looking around like, yo, why they do this at every time this song come on or whatever.
That song is like it holds a special place in my heart for that reason. Because it was a time, it was like clear the room. Clear the room. The Memphians have the floor. This is their time. Nashville, Chattanooga, Atlanta, I see you. This is their moment. We'll get back to y'all and Gucci Mane later. But this is their time. And yeah, I mean, I don't hear that song and I want to flip a table. And so
I think everybody in our generation, like that's in people's like top 3.
yeah, like it's just so good. It's so good. And it would be funny because I'm at the party and my like whatever, like halfway preppy stuff, probably had on a polo. And then That's What's Up comes on, it's a whole other scene.
It's like, yeah, people are buck jumping and all the other, as the kids would say. What would you say is your favorite restaurant, your favorite Memphis restaurant?
I don't want to pick one. I'm gonna pick like a few.
Okay.
Soulfish is always my first stop. So, like, if I fly into Memphis, I'm like, all right, we're gonna pick up some Soulfish because again, I want a catfish basket, and I can't get that reasonably here. The barbecue shop is usually my other go-to because it's like I want some good barbecue and I like their sandwiches. Those are my top 2.
Okay.
And then there's places that just make me feel like I'm at home. Like Leonard's Barbecue is a third, but that's like very Hickory Hill specific. That's not like a citywide barbecue spot. That's like a neighborhood spot. Young Avenue Deli, because that like I can't think of a Thanksgiving in Memphis where we don't end up in Young Avenue Deli.
Those are all good things. So like if one of your Amazon friends is like, yo, Channa, I'm coming to Memphis with you for the weekend, you're gonna take them to those spots. And then where else you gonna take them? Not this isn't food related. You're gonna take them where else would you take them in the city?
I'll take them to the Civil Rights Museum. I will take them to I'll take them downtown, but more on like Maine. I actually really like how South Maine has developed in the last couple of years. So I take them there. So they get the experience of Memphis, but like the newer parts of Memphis. We'd have to hang out in Cooper Young. Probably Wiseacre Brewing, because I like Wiseacre, but there's lots of great breweries now.
Yeah, well, now there you go. So we got to talk about it. I know you're not, since you haven't been here in a while, you haven't tasted all the newer ones, but your favorite local beer, Tiny Bomb, Ananda.
So gotta get up to get down. Is that the stout? That was my favorite for a while, but I hadn't had it in a long time. Like I don't think I've had it in the past few years, just because I'm away. And when I go home, I feel like that's a seasonal beer. So when I go home, I end up getting like a Tiny Bomb or Ananda. I like I don't know the beers by name, but I like the beers across town. I'm trying to think of some others. There's another brewery that I like. Maybe it's Memphis-bred.
Yeah, we got Memphis-bred is here in Cooper Young.
And then Ghost River is like the OG. Ghost River had what's their flagship? It's like
Golden Ale. The Ghost River Golden Ale, and then the River Red.
So yeah, when I first started getting into beer in Knoxville, I would go home, and that was like one of the few like craft beers I can get.
Well, yeah, I mean, like you mentioned it earlier, like the craft beer scene here is boom. and we actually went to the new Wiseacre this past weekend, and it's amazing.
It's not in Binghamton anymore?
Nah, they got a one downtown, right on 3rd Street, right at basically Vance and 3rd, right before you get it. Right, it's like a block away from the Forum.
On Vance and 3rd. Look at that. Look at that.
And so it's really nice. And we were talking to one of my friends who was there with us, my little brother actually, and he doesn't like beer. And we're telling him like, well, this is how you start with local beers. Like everybody always starts with like Ghost River and the Ghost River Golden Ale or something. Then you move over to the Tiny Bomb and the Nanda. And then I moved over to drinking more Crosstown and Beale Street Brewing, obviously, because we want to support the black brewers.
Oh, wait. Yes, I really liked, damn it. I can't remember what I tried by them when I was home, but I got a 6-pack of their beer.
I think we had the Space Age Sipping.
I think it was Space Age Sipping. It was Space Age Sipping because I want to try their hypnotized minds.
Yeah, I had that. It's not that different from the Space Age Sipping, but you know, I love me a good IPA, so I was just drinking it away.
See, so I didn't drink IPAs before I got to Seattle, and then now it's a whole thing. But yeah, there's so many places in Memphis I would take people, and then you got to hit up Rayford's. I forgot about Rayford's, but that's like
you got to mentally prepare yourself for Rayford's, man. I don't know if I'm ready for that no more. I'm too old.
I'm a little beyond the Rayford's time, but I feel like you get in there early before the line starts, and then you leave before the real chaos begins, and that's like the sweet spot.
There were times we would go to Rayford's and just get. Oh man, that's a podcast.
It was like it wasn't even as big as my apartment.
Right.
The drum set in the middle of it, like good times though.
I'm going to read you the fill in the blank. You said the M made me universal because a little bit of everything is in Memphis. Mm-hmm. Why was that your question? Your how you feel that out?
Because it's true. There's not an experience that you can't have in Memphis. If you want something that's really, we're a gritty grind city, but if you want an all-black experience, easy in Memphis. If you want a divey experience, if you want a luxurious experience, like whatever you want to do is there. And Memphis makes you find the gems. And that's what I mean by universal too. Like Memphis is not going to come to you. Like if you were in the city, it's not going to hit you with "we're awesome" and you just walked off the plane and you get it. You got to go find what's awesome. And I think the universal piece of that is I know how to go anywhere and find what's awesome. And that's from coming from home.
No, that's I remember telling a friend of mine who moved here a couple years ago. I was like, bro, Memphis is what you make it. If you're going to sit here in your apartment all day, then you're not going to like living here. But if you want to go out and really explore, and because like you in your apartment downtown, even though downtown is growing, it's only so much. Like if you want to go to some stuff, you had to come out, you had to come to the hood. You got to go to the barbecue spot in the hood. You got to go to the wing spot in the hood. Then you can go out and get your other the other type of situations you want. But you got to really experience Memphis to get Memphis. And I think that's a perfect way to end this. So Channa, we over here at the M Made Me, thank you for telling us your story and telling us how Memphis plays a part in your story and introducing yourself to the world, because we're going to have 1 million listeners on this.
Yes, I believe it. Don't think I won't send it to my whole family.
And so we thank you. And like I said, for the M Made Me, this is Channa Palmer, and I am Jamal, and we will catch y'all next time.
Peace.